Hello everyone, welcome to the Pushing Hudson podcast. This is your host Ash. When I first saw her name, I didn't know a lot about her. Just another name on the Western States podium list. But once we hit record and started talking, it became clear she is built different. Coming from an art historian background, she never imagined she'd be towing the line against the best ultra runners in the world. And yeah, her rise wasn't overnight. It took time, patience, and years of study work. But from the way she talks, the way she thinks, one thing's obvious: she's not going anywhere. She's not just competing, she's pushing for more, especially for moms in the sports. Because let's be real, most moms don't get the support or structure to chase something like this. They're juggling kids, work, expectation, and somehow trying to train for a 100 miler on top of that. She's out here showing it's possible, advocating for a better race setups, more inclusive policies, and set up calling out the imbalance. And still, she is competitive as hell. She shows up to win. But she also knows when to pull back, when the cost is too high. That mixture of fire and discipline, that's rare. This episode is about resilience, recovery, and building a mindset that lasts. So let's get right into it, and please let me introduce to our guest today. Here's Esther. Hey, Esther, welcome to the podcast, and I'm so glad that we are able to talk. Can you please give a quick introduction about who is Esther?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Esther Csillag. I am an ultra trail runner. I'm running for Hoka, and I'm a mother of two girls. And I'm mostly running distances from 50 or 80 kilometer to 100 mile.
All right, and in the topic, you have podium the one of the most historic and exciting races, Western States. You have also run UTMB. You are a mom, like you said, and you're a art historian, and then you run and kick ass on trails. Can we start here, and can you please let us know, like, how do you reset between these races and life?
Yeah, I don't think there is a balance or there is a recipe. It's an everyday challenge. And every day I just restart in the morning with things I want to do that day. But generally speaking, what works for me is if I don't look at the big picture, I just focus on the task I am doing at that moment. So when I'm running, I'm just running or I'm just a runner. When I'm with my daughters, then I'm just a mother and trying not to think about other things. And this works for me when I think about the overall like schedule what I want to do in one day that can be overwhelming. So I try not to do that. That doesn't work for me or doesn't make me productive. And when I just focus on the thing I am doing, it makes me quite productive. Like by the end of the day, I can think back and, okay, great. Like I was able to do many of them.
And now going back and to your history, right? So you were born in Budapest, and then, like you said, you were raised on history and art, and then it totally changed because then you end up in Hong Kong, and then you started doing all these incredible trail races. So, what changed from being born in Budapest and then going all the way to Hong Kong and started doing these things, and why not in Hungary itself?
Yes, I was born in Hungary, in Budapest. My great-grandfather was an artist. My grandmother turned his studio into a private museum, and that's where kind of I grew up next to my grandmother. So I always wanted to be an art historian. I don't think there was a question what I want to be when I grew up. And I wanted to study art history in Italy. That was like, I was there for a year during high school, so I spoke the language. And I left Hungary when I was 23 years old. And to cut the long story short, basically I did an economy degree first in Hungary because I was told that foreign people are not admitted to art history department in Italy, and I didn't do fact checking. So I said, okay, I'm not studying art history in Hungary, but then I will do economy. I finished that, and then I said, okay, this is still my dream. I go and I try. If I can make it, maximum, I just come back. And so 23 years old, I left. I went to Rome and I got in. It turned out there was no problem to do art history as a foreign student. And since then, I am just coming back for a few months or time to Budapest. My family and my friends are still here. And then I did my BA and MA in Italy. I have been always running, like at high school, I have been always running. In Italy, I was always running, but I didn't know what trail running is. That came later on when we moved with my husband, who was my fiancé, when we moved to Hong Kong later on. And in Hong Kong, it was a friend who invited me to go on a run. They were all mothers from her son class, and they were going for a run together. And I joined them and we went ahead, and that was like so much fun. It felt Super Mario in the computer game. For the like, my knowledge of computer games stops there, but yeah, it felt like that. And I think that was like definitely like I fall in love with trail running right away. And since that day, I can say I am a trail runner, because after that, I think I basically shifted all my runs from road and treadmill to trail runs. And then the whole like trail running career developed from then onwards. It was very slow and it was not like aggressive. I had two daughters in between, but it's definitely a beautiful journey to be part of.
It is. That is exciting. That's how we fall in love with trail running. And it's so nice because it's different than running on the road. I ran 2 hours yesterday on treadmill and it was like, oh my God, why it's so hard? It sucks because there is nothing you can do. You just look at the screen and just keep running. But then when we are in the trails and it's just nicer, you can hear the birds, you can hear the greenery of the forest, or if it is fall then the colors are changing, and then snow, so it's so much nicer.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think it makes us nicer people because we are so much connected to nature. Like, I think for trail runners is a basic point that we are spending so much time within nature, and that is giving us so much. Sometimes unconsciously, but yeah, it's good when we are conscious about that and we appreciate that.
If you go back and look at it now, so you said you did only the treadmill running and then road running, and you probably obviously did races. And compared to that, when you started doing this trail running and your first trail race experience, how was the difference, or what was the difference you felt?
Well, so during high school, they always sent me for races. It's or in elementary and secondary, but that those distances are never more than 3,000 meter. And then when I was doing it by myself, it was more just a self-discipline practice of fully like committing, like just believing that sport is an integrated part of the human being or life. So my discipline stayed in running 1 hour every day, and that was like non-questionable. If I had a super long day, then I had to wake up either earlier or finish the day later. But yeah, so for years that was my point. But there was no intervals, there was like nothing. It was nothing, like it was not more than 1 hour, it was not less than 1 hour, there was no speed, it was just pure running, stretching before, stretching after, and that's all. But it kept my mind sane, I have to say. And looking back, probably that was a good base for what came later, because with the distances I run now, like it's good I have those years in the bank. And my first race That was crazy. So with this friend who brought me into trail running, we ran most of the time together every morning. She had kids. I didn't have kids at that time. So basically, I went near to her home and we met usually at 5 a.m. and we were out for 2 hours. And then she went home to take her kids to school, and I went home and I went to work. So it was, and then we decided, her husband, she was Spanish, but her husband was Italian, and there was a big race near to, or a smaller race near to their home, Belluno, and where they stayed over summer in the Dolomites, which was 130 kilometer with like 12,000 meter elevation. And I feel quite stupid, but that was my first race. Obviously, I did not finish, but I felt horrible about not finishing it. I remember this was a summer race, and every day after that year, I have been like just repeating to myself that I can't give it up. The next, like anything I was doing, and it was hard. Like I just can't give it up anymore. Like it can't happen to me anymore. But I learned a lot from that race, and it was like, besides we didn't finish, we did it together, and we ran till 100 kilometers. So still we covered most of the distance, and it was our decision not to finish the race. We went through a lot of issues, but overall, running through the Dolomites, it was amazing. That was my very first experience as a trail runner doing a race, and that's just so stunning and so quiet when you are on the top of the mountains over there. Yeah, that was a big lesson, but also a beautiful experience when I remove all the emotional part or that came with it.
When you look at your journey, right? Because to go to UTMB, people usually do a lot of races and everything. But for you, you just went straight into the UTMB. You didn't look left or right. Okay, I'm just gonna do it. What made you confident or comfortable going to that race?
Oh, I think that was a long journey. Like we are talking about 2000, this was 2016, and UTMB I did in 2022. So there is like 7 years in between. I did CCC first from the now UTMB finals, and next year I decided to go for the UTMB. So that's why I say I don't think my journey was aggressive at all, but it was after a good CCC where I just decided that I am interested and curious to know how I cope with a 100-mile distance. And this is how I ended up deciding for or going for the UTMB in 2022. Since then, the distances I have been running were races from anything between 20 to 100 kilometers, but nothing really above, besides Transgran Canaria, which is like 125. But yeah.
Talking about the races and motherhood, so you're obviously mom, you said. Has that helped you to become more physically and mentally in a better shape as an ultra runner? Would you say that?
I think the Hong Kong mentality is obviously a good push because they are constantly pushing themselves to the next level. There is no limit of satisfaction, which is a good starting point. The motherhood taught me a lot. I was afraid to become a mother. I was not sure how it's going to be. And then a friend of mine once said, when you become a mother, you will experience the love in a very different way. It's many times, it won't be about you, you just care about them. And yeah, it gives me a lot on a daily basis to have them around, to grow together, to live together. to give them the things I want, I do think are important in life. And also go through struggles together. As a runner, now there are like scientific research more and more showing that actually postpartum athletes are often benefiting from the changes that occur in the body. I'm pretty sure that was the case for me, but also for me what was important that during the pregnancy I had 2 pregnancies which were without any complication, so I could run throughout till the very end, and that was really nice. I think that is something where, when you have a baby inside, you don't care, you need to like drink, you need to eat, like it's much more about yourself because you are carrying a baby, so you learn better fuel yourself, or listen to your body. When it's not the day, then be flexible and do it another day what you wanted to do that day. So it's a lot of small things that I learned during those 2 times 9 months. I know I was much braver in the second pregnancy, but I also raced till 5 months pregnant in the first one. And also, as your tummy grows, it's so uncomfortable. You have to pee all the time. It's not very comfortable, but that's another thing that it's also part of the trail running, like that the uncomfortable side that can be there, and you need to cope with it. So for me, I think both the pregnancy and the postpartum and just having them around are just making me probably a different person. But this we should ask, obviously, from an outsider. But I do feel that I'm different.
You look at yourself now, right? So you have 2 kids, and then you also have to train. Obviously, if you're training for UTMB, Western States, all these kind of races, you have to spend so much time to do it. So what does your typical week look like when you are training?
Yeah, so the 100-mile distance, I think, differs from the 100K, 50K distances, is that the amount of time you spend on legs or training is just more. And obviously, when you have a family or other things, it's just a lot more than squeezing in 2 hours of running or training into your day. In my case, over the years, I have to say that my family became more open to help me or to help us. So oftentimes, like when I go to the races earlier to train, one of the grandparents or the 2 of them come to us and they help us while I am away. So the big machine is in function. That's how I call it. And I'm very grateful for that, because we have the 4 grandparents who are healthy and okay to travel and come over and help. That's a big thing. Also my husband, who is extremely supportive, and he's just calls me after runs, how did it go? So he's really dedicated and supportive, which is also very important for me. And a typical week, I don't know, it depends what is the typical week, because before big races, usually now I am where the race is going to be, so that's not being home, and that's a different environment. When I'm at home, usually I take the kids to the school and to the kindergarten, and I do the training after, and then the other things I will do after that. That's my preference, but obviously not every day is the same.
As you look at yourself, so the first time you used to do only the treadmills and road races, then you this 130K trail running with your friend out of nowhere. And then you came back and you did the Twin Peaks, that was also similar. Then you did UTMBs, and now we are doing Western States, all these difficult kind of races where you need to be very tough in terms of endurances, in terms of mentally, physically as well. So what has changed in your approach since the way you started to get into the ultra running?
I think the approach is the same. detailed-minded, trying to always be open-minded or think what I need to work on or improve or change. Definitely like the style changed quite a lot, but physical or mental wise, I think you just go through so much over the years. Like every year there are so many experiences you go through, sometimes like very high, sometimes very low, and they all add further layers to you as an athlete or as a runner, also as a human being. And yeah, I think those are like just me more complex in that sense. But yeah, it's always good to be aware of the journey I am in.
And in this journey, did you have any injuries or anything? And what has been the worst that you have ever faced?
I'm quite lucky. I haven't been injured most of the time. I had an injury last December with my right hip, and right now I had to stop Western States because I have an injury in my left feet. At the moment, I'm just coming out, or I will see how it goes with this one, and what that means for the rest of the year. So now I am in that situation. Yeah.
When you are doing these races, that you obviously put in so much time, and like you said, like when you did the Western State, you were injured while doing the race itself. So, how do you balance to push and to just be like, okay, I need to stop, or there's always next time? So, where is that balance for you when you're doing these incredible races?
Yeah, that's a good question. So last year at UTMB, I just emptied the tank by after Champelac. I was like, I had stomach issues and I hit the wall by big. But then I knew, like, I had no injuries. And I knew it was like a energy level issue. And I had to arrive to Chamonix on my own feet. So I did that, and that was a tough journey back to the finish line, but it made sense. I had no injury. So that is one situation where like I decided that was the thing I'm going to do. And in Western States, basically I was not able to run anymore, and I could run into a stress fracture after talking to the medical staff. Do I want to walk back to the finish line and having a stress fracture which can keep you back for years? There was no point like to walk back, but stop and then look after the injury and yeah, now see how I can come out of that. So I think these two big races are like two different sides of the same coin, but like making a different decision in each in each situation. And yeah, I'm okay with that. Like I know this is the right decision I made, even if it sucks. And yeah, there was no point at that moment to continue. Yeah.
You obviously had some goals going into the Western States, right? Because it's you've been training for months for it. And how did that felt when you decided that okay, I think this is it for me. I'm not gonna go further because it could ruin the next year's challenge because you can always come back next year and cross the race. So at that moment when you decided, okay, this is it for me, how was that feeling? Obviously, I know I saw your post and it was really heartbreaking for you to go through that.
Yeah, good question. I don't think that when you are sitting at the medical tent with the pain and you, in that moment again, it's just like your mindset is on the situation or on the issue that you are dealing, and you just need to make a decision or come out of that pain, or yeah. So I, at that moment, to be honest, like I was not thinking of all the work I put in. And it's when I'm saying this, I also have to say it's not only the work I put in, but it's the whole family, the kids that I'm away. So it's many people who are involved in that, and that obviously like came out later. And when I have two girls, it's like what I want them that they learn, and I I never want that because of a failure they change their attitude. My point is that next time I will just want to do the same, no matter what. And yeah, I think that's why sometimes it's good to have kids, because they help you. That is like, you can't collapse, you need to move forward, and you need to like show what's the right thing to do, even if it's like not easy. So yeah, definitely that's a takeaway. If you want to do well, you have to put in everything that you can, or you need to do the best preparation you can, and you can't save yourself. And if I want to do well in future races, that's the attitude that I need to have, and that's what made me who I am right now. So it's like failure can't stop me. It just has to, I have to process it in the right way, and yeah, to make me stronger or better, or how you want to call it. Like, certainly I'm now very much into the process, so it's just, these are hopes and goals, but yeah, that's how I approach it.
How does your recovery look like? Because when you do the races, you are physically fatigued, drained, broken, like so many things happen. But there is also this mental aspect where you are like, you put on so much work for months and then you are drained pretty much during the race because you have to think for so much thing, like for you example the injury and everything. But if you take away that, then there is also where should I attack, how much should I be eating, what should I be doing. If some things comes up, you have to right there and then make a decision and all these kind of things. So how do you recover from these things? Because it's a huge toll on the body, mentally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah. This time it was not very like the usual one, because I had the pain in the leg. I was told there was no sense to make an MRI in the US, because it's just cost so much. So I had to wait to come back to Hungary to do the whole checkup and so on. Obviously, I was not really able to walk, but yeah, it's also the emotional part. Like at that moment, like you can't really put it away. I think during the race it doesn't really matter, but I think when you pull out from a race due to an injury, the situation is different, because you are in a different, like, you are broken in other means. When you finish a race and you are physically broken and mentally exhausted, you can be still happy, and also like, then like, my experience is that your body get used to it. So probably after your first ultra, you are super broken, and it's the whole signs that you have in your body is just so weird, and you are like scared what's going on. But over the years, your body gets used to it, and it just gets better, and you are, less scared. Like, it's normal, and you just give space and time to your body to recover. But obviously, like, basic things are very important, like enough sleep, eating well, and just switching off also mentally, because usually the build up is so much. Those are things that I think help for sure to, like, not speed up. I don't think you can speed up the recovery. It's really dependent on your body, on your age, but you can like enhance or improve the recovery. Yeah, I mean, these things are so important. Like, there is no trail running without all these aspects that you need to really care about. If not, you just end up exhausting your body.
And now, talking about the Western states in particular, what's been the toughest stretch for you on that course? Because you have experience running through the course.
I break down the course into three segments. So you have from Olympic Valley to Robinson Flat. That's the more mountainous, like you are running on elevation. It's the more technical part, but still like runnable. And then from Robinson Flat, which is at 50-kilometer mark, to Forest Hill, which is the next 50-kilometer. There you have the canyons. It's a lot of downhill running. It's and with some uphills. And the heat already is present. And then from Forest Hill, like in theory, when you have a good day, from Forest Hill onwards is the hottest part of the day, and it's quite exposed. From there, the last 60 kilometers are very runnable. So ideally, you have the legs that you save in the first 100K, and you have to race that hard till the end. So these are the three parts. Your question was which is my favorite, or what?
Which is the toughest one?
Toughest. Each of them has its own challenge. Probably as a runner, like the first 50 kilometers is not where you train, because till race day is often covered with snow, that easy to navigate through. You can obviously do it, and some people do it in the last 2 weeks, but so that 50 kilometers is what you mostly just do it on race day, but it's actually the nicest. Like, you have beautiful views if you have time to look out for those views. But I think each of them has its toughest, why it's tough, and then they just build up upon one another. So the whole race is a tough race.
It's the one of the toughest course, and you have hit podium multiple times. So, what has been the difference when you go and run from the beginning to win it, and when you just go and run to have fun or just to complete it?
I never run it just to have fun, so I don't know.
You're always running to win it. That's awesome mentality.
Yeah, I compete.
Yes, that is amazing. So I don't think I have any questions on that. It's like I'm there to win. I'm not there to just run it. And running 100 miles is not easy. And you call it like playing with fire. What is the risk that you put in every time you go and to the line? And as you said that you are there to compete and you're always there to win it. What is the risk for that?
You get injured. You get burned out. You are putting a lot of stress on your body. There is a lot of things you need to navigate through, or things you need to avoid. It's a sport where that it goes all the stress on your body. I understand that biking or triathlon, like other endurance sports, are like super tough as well, but the impact that you have on the body is just so different, because with running, like every step is is hitting your body, it's on your body. I think navigate through that, and that's a something to be aware of, and make sure you eat well, you look after your body, like you stretch out, or you do yoga, or you do massage, or whatever works for you, but you compensate that like very tough side of the sport with something which is very much in contrast. Like, I do remember when first I started trail running and I had some knee pain, and then the Chinese doctor, I went to do acupuncture, and she said, you should do yoga. And I started to do yoga. I never did yoga before, and for 1 month I always wanted to go out from the class, because where you run 20-30 kilometers in tough conditions versus you are on a mat which is like 2 meters square, and you do 15 positions in 60 minutes, and it was so big contrast that I couldn't, like, I was just, my whole body and my mind was rebelling against that. But obviously, long term, I understand it is very important. So, in that sense, I'm saying that I think it's very important that you consciously balance out the toughness of what running puts on your body.
You talked about burnt out, and obviously, when you do this kind of mental or the toughest endurance races, so many of them, how do you listen to your body and act when it's saying, okay, I have a burnt out? Or do you actually listen to your body and say, oh, do you have a burnout? I need to stop, or you are always 100% full ahead?
Mm, it's a good question. I'm not pretty sure because I do have some DNFs which I don't really like. Like, I wish I didn't have them. So probably I'm not very good in that. I think, like, I'm not, yeah, I wish I was better in that. I think, yeah, also having kids, it's just the focus that I can put in to when they have schools or when they have activities or when things like they have their own needs. It just, yeah, there is, if I look at only at the running side, that's a lot of noise coming into my, training. So it's maybe because of that. So maybe I don't need to be that tough on, on myself and be okay. But on the other hand, I know how much I hate it. Yeah, but I also know that's me. So I know on what I need to improve.
You have been doing this kind of thing for a long time, and then it changed it for you because before you used to just run the trails, but then now you're doing this in a much more competitive levels with so many other elite ultra runners. And for you right now, what scares you the most? Not being able to run or to lose the desire to run?
I think what is always the big question is the balance within my life with my kids, their things, and and how I want or would like to train, and the negotiation in between, or the other stuff I'm doing. I think that's always, yeah, that is the thing, like a question. If I have to say, what is the question that is bothering me and I don't have the answer and I wish I had, it's more that. I think it's more definitely that. But on the other hand, I am aware that there are no situations when you have no questions that are bothering your mind. So it's probably in my life situation, this is the thing that has to bother my mind, and I just have to accept it and maybe use it as a fuel to push myself or to just cope with the situations when it's problematic. Yeah, I don't know, but definitely that's what, like, I question most of the time.
If you go back and look at your life, right? So you started trail running 2016, and now 2024 you are doing these humongous races and competing against all these people. Do you think this Esther at 2016 would be believing that Esther now would be going and doing these incredibly big races and competing with against all these elite runners?
I never imagined that.
So, are you very surprised with your own progress that you have made over the years? Where you are now compared to back then?
Not surprised, but it was not, it was something that evolved over time, for sure. It's amazing. It's an
It
amazing
is.
journey. It's great. Yeah. It's like in moments like now with an injury, right, where I have to pull out from a race, it's like it's good to think back and appreciate like positive parts of it. Yeah, but definitely not surprised. I know how much work I put it in. It's a lot of work. So it just shows that the work takes, when you put in the work, it takes you somewhere. I don't know where, but it took me here where I am today. But on the other hand, for sure, like, I appreciate the journey. I can look back and see, oh, that's quite cool. It's nice.
How old are your daughters? Are
Um,
they in that age where they can understand what you're doing or not yet?
More and more they question what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So Emma just turned 7 last week, and Noemi is 4 years old. The first time they were supposed to be at Forest Hill. Till now they were only at the finish line, but this year we said, okay, it's nice they see what I'm doing. So they were in vainly waiting at Forest Hill. At one point they left. Yeah. Now I think it's good also to give them some insights like that so they better understand what the heck their mother is doing, because if not, my mother is running on those mountains up there. So from that very abstract thing to what is the situation is, yeah, slowly. But yeah, I think they also question things. When I leave, when I go ahead, they reach me later when they are with the grandparents. So their questioning made me aware that I need to share more instead of just me going for a run, to share more of what I'm doing. So in that sense, they know more. And yeah, I really hope one day they will be at Forest Hill or at the aid station and they see and they realize that I left in the morning, I come back late, and during that time I was just running. Like, that is something that probably from a kid's perspective, it made them realize, okay, this is quite crazy. I understand why she has to do all that running. Instead of taking me to the play dates with other kids, things like that.
And if you look at now in terms of your ultra running, what has been that one lesson for you that you will keep it with you?
I don't know yet. I don't think I have that perspective at the moment because I'm so much involved. Mm, and I am, my strength is not in that. My strength is always focusing on like the small things and like putting them together. But I'm really sure, especially because I'm trained as an art historian, I'm doing a postdoc, so I because I have other lives, so to say, with that or being a mother, I'm very aware that this is giving somewhere much more than I do realize. But because I'm so much focused on the process or on the goals or coming out from this injury and what's next or what to do today or whatever, yeah, I don't have that perspective to be able to say that.
And like we talked about your daughter a little bit, right? So in future they will obviously see all the things that you have done and read about it and watch this podcast, just watch this podcast too. If they look at your life, right? So what would be that one thing you would want them to learn from you?
I am already teaching them to be a feminist. So they
Yes.
know they have to work 10 times more than a man. and but one thing, I want them to be curious and I want them to have dreams and don't give up on their dreams. That's for sure. That is like non-negotiable. I want them to have that when they grow up. And this means obviously like I do wish they have a career there, and beside that they can have a family, but I do wish that they are part of the society in a very constructive way, whatever they are going to do.
Do you think as you are doing these hard races and when they're up to that age and they will come obviously come and see you and then be inspired with you, do you want them to follow your footstep and be take the baton from you?
I don't know if they are inspired by me.
They will be.
When I came back to the Airbnb from Michigan Bluff, where I stopped Western States, and they said what happened, and I said I had to stop, and he said, oh good, you can rest tomorrow. Their perspective is very different. But yeah, for now they are doing other sports like swimming, taekwondo, fencing, and
Yep.
ballet. I don't know whether they end up doing trail running. I do think that because I'm out so much training, I do less them for hiking, and I wish that we hike more together as a family. And they do spend less time in nature because of me running out there too much. But on the other hand, they are always out there around races at the mountains. Sometimes they request me to take them on a run, and they are very good in eating the biscuits during these runs. So at least the fueling is there. I'm not going to push them if it comes. Like I do see Noemi, she's strong. Maybe one day she will be interested in it. And I would be super happy to go out for a run with my daughter, but obviously it's not now. But if it happens, that will be so cool. That would be really cool. Yeah.
Coming back to the current, so you work as a art historian. So how does your academic brain fits into this running life?
No, I think they are quite separated things. But I grew up in a sporty family, so sport was always an part, important thing in my life. And on the other hand, yeah, I think art is quite, how to say, an additional value to the human life or to the civilization. Many say it's a luxury. I do think that it's adding value to our life. Similarly to the sport, you are challenging your body, and I think art can challenge your thoughts, your belief, your thinking. It can open up your mind in pathways that you can't predict. This very abstract connection between sport or running and art, they just function very differently. Yeah, different crowds, very different. But another thing for sure, like being detailed minded, pays off in both fields. Yeah, it's important. Like from small things you build up the big thing, whatever it is. Yeah. And for the running, I think why it's good because I can switch off. I do think that you can, yeah, it's good that I have, something going on in my life which is not running, and it allows me to focus on that. And when I'm focusing on that, I'm switching off my running side, and that is a good recovery. It's sometimes challenging because I wish I had a down period, which basically there is no down period. Just because I'm a mother, so there is no down period with kids, but also now I'm writing an article. So there is always something going on in one side of my life, which is the trickiest. But also on the other hand, like everyone's life is so busy. So it's probably just, this is the way how my life is busy, but also this is how I function. I like to be intellectually challenged, but I also like to be physically challenged. And yeah, I think that's good. But like on big days, I can't do mental work. So there are weeks or when like preparing for Western States, like I'm not very productive. And by now I'm okay with it. Before maybe I struggled, but now I'm accepting it, or I'm just sharing it with colleagues.
Now, talking about the colleagues that you just put it up, how do they see you as a person? Because you're a art historian, but then in this other version of yourself, you're going and kicking ass in these tough races, ultra races, which are very hard.
I was thinking about it. I think I got much more questions in the running sphere about what is to be like an art historian than within like the academia or among art historians to like what it is to be a runner. Like it's just not part of their interest, so they are just not asking about it. I don't think because they are not interested, but probably it's not easy to comprehend our sports. They are so insane, and yeah. So I think just because the sport is not known enough outside of those who practice the sport to be able to ask questions. But what I did now at the postdoc, like my bosses and the secretary, they know what I'm doing. I shared everything, like my schedule and things. So I don't have like I don't pretend I don't have secrets, and that's at least it makes me comfortable. And they ask me to do things in person when they know I am in Hong Kong, and other things I can do virtually. So that's something that I learned over the years. You need to come out and just share and be open about it, and that helps.
Do you think are they inspired you in some ways when they see you do these races and winning it obviously, and then when you tell them?
I don't know. I don't know. I think most of the people outside of the sport, like they usually think about sport people that we are disciplined and we have a big will power. And these are the two words that most of the time outsiders are coming to tell me. And then I just can say that I don't think so, but thank you. From my perspective, I know how much I can improve, and that's what I see. My eyes on are always on the improvement side rather than where I am. But right now, I think for them mostly that's what they say. And my general impression from people at the academia is that they sit way too much. They should do much more sport. They would be much kinder. I say it less acid, which is not true for everyone. But there are some cases where, like, I would like just to tell them, like, can you go out for a run, sweat out
Yeah.
all your negative cells, and then we can continue the conversation. But yeah.
Like you said, trail running community is not so big outside of the world, right? Because if you are been following people, then you know obviously other people, and then they have genuinely interest on it. And trail running community is a space where you don't see a lot of moms, like talking about immigrant moms, a lot of people who are not from outside running is. And in that sense, do you feel like you represent all of them? See, and what you can do.
So today just have the hard rock Stephanie case with her kids around her finishing hard rock as the fourth woman in the race. That's amazing. That's beautiful to see. I did become a hoka runner after my two daughters. So I do appreciate that they didn't say, because you are a mother, you are so limited, we don't believe in you. They do believe in me, and that's really nice. That's really like a great example. I believe that if I don't put limit on myself, they won't put limit on me. So the journey is open, the possibilities are endless, and that's something that I want that it's the takeaway from my story. And it's just important because we have so many fathers running out there. We need to have the mothers running out there. Mothers are great, mothers are strong, they are multitasking, they are good trail runners by default. But often they have less free time. The structure is helping more the man to do his hobby than the mother to do her hobby, but it should be balanced out. The regulations in the races and in the circuits should help out parents, which is like both fathers and mothers, that maybe the possibility of babysitting or different distances, or the regulations definitely needs to be more female friendly. If not, the sport can sound too tough, too much. The numbers just can be insane if for a newcomer. So if it becomes more welcoming, definitely like the mothers will rock. And we have examples of this. I'm not alone. I think it's just important that a mother life is not stopping when they become mothers, it continues to grow just as it grew before. Yeah.
And let's assume, right, so many mothers listening to you right now, and I'm sure there are so many of them, and not just mother. If you have one thing you like to tell all those like women, moms, working professional, like you said, who are sitting at the desk, but also they have this feeling like, oh, I can't do this, and have this feeling. It's always this feeling where we always have this doubt over ourselves that I cannot do this. So what would you say to all these people who are out there that they want to try newer things, but they are limiting themselves and not getting out of their comfort zone and at least trying? If you don't try, you don't know if you can do the distance, if you can run a 5K or whatever or not. So what would be that one message that you would like to tell them for them?
I think doing it in a group or with a friend, it helps. I talked to some mothers or women in Hong Kong where we have no wild animals and they are afraid of the animals on the trails, and they were asking, oh, should we buy a bear spray? And it's like, I can't laugh at them, but obviously there are no animals to be afraid of. But when you are a newcomer, there are so many things going on when you go out to run on a trail. The GPX, the track to follow, what you should bring, where you finish, how you go back, is it dangerous, what time of the day. So doing that in a group, it showed, we have different examples, that doing it with friends, it just eases so much more. If you have a friend who already practicing trail running, you don't just ask questions or ask to help you do your first run or create a group. Even just creating a group it can be powerful, and I think women just work much better in those environments or in those settings. So like, instead of being scared, like, just voice it out and word it out. What are your questions? How to go and do your first run on the trails? I absolutely understand it can be overwhelming. Like, I did my first run myself with someone. I like almost like a guidance, right? So it's important that you have that, I think, when you come into this sport. And then if you like it and if you love it, you will evolve. There are so much information available, and nature is everywhere. So it's a sport that you can practice anywhere you live, like in most cases.
And I've asked this question to a lot of people, right? I will ask you as well. So the question is, why do you run?
I like ask my husband. I was not running for 2 weeks and he was like, I can't wait you go out for a run. But yeah, it's a second nature. When I run, I just feel myself, or even like when I finish the run, just I always run. Like, it makes me a better person. It makes me a happier person. It's the simplest sport in the world. Like, we could run without any gears and without anything. It's the first sport that the human ever done, and it's empowering, I think, because you are generating the power for yourself. And running itself has so many benefits, independent on the level you practice it. Like, obviously what I'm doing is a very complex way of running. It's not that simple in that sense. But if I go back to my years at the university when I just ran 1 hour, I knew that kept me sane in a very tough and difficult schedule. And yes, it's the same thing why I would ask some professor like advice why to go out for a run and sweat. I think sweating out the negative cells from your body, like, it's good for everyone. And running for me at this moment, what it means, I think it's really a second nature. Like, when I go out for training, I just feel, I am in my skin. This is what I did this journey, just all those years of so much running is putting me there where, yeah, it's almost like bracing, that you do it unconsciously, like running is just feels, yeah, this is what I have to do right now because this is the right thing. And then obviously there are many things to improve on and whatever, but generally that's a feeling that I am having when I start my runs. It can give you a lot, and it's also something that you do it alone. Sometimes we are so dependent of other people, and it makes you, I think, quite autonomous, which is good. I think this is like it can be an endless answer because running is so general. The ultra trail running, it is making it much more specific, and also the different levels or the different approaches and perspective and goals. So yeah, it could be an endless answer, but let's stop here.
Okay. So I have two things left. One is this quick fire round. So I'll just ask you a bunch of easy questions, or not so easy, but you can just give me whatever comes to your mind first. Favorite trail snack?
With liquid gel.
Most brutal race you have done?
UTMB.
Western States or UTMB? What's the real test?
Western States.
Climbs or descents?
Climbs.
Most post race ritual or indulgence that you have?
Cold water.
One race you still haven't won but you need to.
I won't tell you.
One daily habit you don't compromise on.
To give a kiss to my daughters.
All right, so few things, just two things left. I said two things earlier, but do you ever think that you'll run longer distance beyond 100 milers, like the Cocodona,
No.
Tahoe 200? No.
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 I'm not wanting to grow up for that. No. With all respect.
Yeah. Okay. So the last final question, I also ask this to everybody. I would like you to finish this question. It's simple but not easy, I would say. So running has changed my life because,
I am a better and a stronger person now.
okay, I think these are all the questions I had for today, and I would really like to thank you for taking your time and talking to me to the podcast. And it was such a nice way to know about it. And your mindset is, I'm gonna win and compete on all the races there. That's awesome because some people just go in the race to compete, and you said, I want to compete. So that's like a incredible mindset. So I'm really thankful for to have you here and talk to you.
Thanks for having me. Have a nice day.
Yep, thank you. See you next time, and I hope your injury is recovered soon, and then you can get back to trail running
Me
again.
too. Me too. Finger crossed.
Yep, of course, yeah.
Bye.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.